Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan of SportsMemo.com. This is the NBA Triple Double Show for May the 11th, 2022. And as always, I'm joined by Ronald Cabang, who will also be joining me on the Major League Baseball Full Count Show that airs live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be filling in as host for the great and illustrious Joe D'Amico, and that will be a fun show as well as this one. But Ronald, welcome to the show. Last night I feel like I was almost lucky. I mean, the win was a 30-point win, but it was 38-30 Dallas at one point,
Yeah,
early, midway through the second quarter, and I was very nervous because I was a $2 guy, and I wanted to say thank you to the more than 500 people that bought it yesterday and trusted my work, and now we're
that's awesome.
8-3 with that 5% max bet. Went 4-1 on the day, so it was a pretty good day for everybody that joined me, and I greatly appreciate it. So let's get started right away with the first game, Ronald, and that is the not the Boston Red Sox, that's for sure. We loaded up the wrong slides, but anyway, let's just get right to the. We can easily switch gears here. The
Yeah.
first game is the Milwaukee Bucks, who are taking on the Boston Celtics in what will be a promise to be an unbelievable game. Physicality galore. I did think, Ronald, last night that the refereeing and officiating in general was better. I think it was Devin Booker who got hammered on going in for a layup or a dunk and sent
Mhm.
sprawling to the floor. That was called a flagrant one. I think during the regular season that would have just been a normal foul, and I thought that that was a good move by the officials because then after that everything just seemed to have a much better flow, and these timeouts to review the play are just deafening to any type of flow these teams can get going. It's like they get going and then all of a sudden they have to review a play, then you get going, and stopping in spurts like that, it's got to be tough. But before we get to this game, Ronald, I wanted to just review last night a little bit. I watched that Miami Heat scrimmage against the Philadelphia 76ers. And, you know, I have to say, I think Charles Barkley was absolutely right. I didn't hear the whole rant that he had. And it really wasn't a rant because he was being very objective, I think, based on what I initially heard and then what I viewed this morning, calling out Embiid. And apparently the news or the rumors is that Embiid was moping around yesterday during the shoot around, was disengaged with his teammates, was off in a corner, both in the gym and the locker room. And I just have to like shake my head. And you and I thought that the voters had just created the worst nightmare possible for the Miami Heat, and actually, it's the direct opposite. If all this is true, and I have to question the like, where's your if that is true? Okay, I'm assuming this, and I'm not bashing this guy in any way. However, if you were a professional athlete, you must have gone through many games where you had to suck it up and rise to the occasion, be a man, and just bring your A game as best you can. And it looked like
Mhm.
last night after he got hit in the face, I couldn't tell whether he was injured or whether he was actually just not engaged in the game anymore and could care less. So
Mhm.
I still to this point don't know what the answer is to that, but I didn't like the body language at all. And if I would have been playing Texas Hold'em, I would have gone all in on him. Or if he would have gone all in on me, I would have immediately called him. But what did you think of that? And seriously, am I overreacting to this? Because I don't want it to affect my handicapping in Game 6 either.
Mhm. Yeah, it's always tough. I mean, obviously, we both thought that losing the MVP race was going to be a motivation factor for him, and I didn't hear that news about him moping around during shoot around and all that stuff. So that's news to me, and that's surprising to me as well. I mean, like as a competitor, you want to be able to prove your doubters wrong. And coming into a shoot around, that's something I would take seriously. Prepare for a game, especially at this caliber of a game. A key game, where you're picking up momentum, right? You just won two games at home with both of the games that you came back in, so you're obviously feeling that you came back and made an impact. You come into this game five, which is very key in these 7 game series, and don't show up. So that's always tough to see and you really don't know where their mindset is at this point. I mean, you're not there in the locker room, you're not there with them during shoot around or practice to see the impact that it has on Embiid's mindset. So it's always tough. And for us, we always got to take it game by game as cappers, and then also listen to what they say in these post game interviews, and how they come back this next game. I mean, we talk about players being out and injured, and especially during the regular season, right? We talk about how Miami can miss players and their depth, and opponents, they sort of like look ahead because they don't have the key players, but in the playoffs you can't do that. It's just a totally different mindset, totally different. It hit motivationally, it just hits differently. So there, what I'm getting at is basically the playoffs is a lot different, and it affects people differently with their mindset. And you just never know how it hits, especially these key players, these superstars. It's just something to watch and listen to game by game.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking to me, and then it is what it is. We can talk about it tomorrow on tomorrow's triple double show because that game's in Philadelphia. Maybe we'll get the complete opposite, but it has to be it's a head scratcher for me at this point in terms of handicapping. But let's take a look at the first game here, and I'll try to get these graphics loaded up while we talk about it. We have the Milwaukee Bucks traveling to Boston Celtics. And I'm sure you know this already, but the home favorites are on a 12-game winning streak and against the spread. The last time a home favorite failed to win a game was game one of this series back on May 1st. Since then, the home favorites have gone 12 and 0, straight up and against the number. And there was one game, this last game of this series, actually, you would think that the Milwaukee Bucks as a home favorite, right? But they weren't. They actually closed as a 1.5-point underdog. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Ronald, and let you tell me, is this trend now mature, and does it mean anything at this point, or is this trend just going to continue to roll right through the NBA conference finals and the NBA finals?
Yeah, I mean, this series here specifically is a true zigzag, right? I think they've been going
Yeah.
win loss, so they split both home and road. I think that trend continues, in my opinion. The Celtics, I feel like they should be able to win this one. This line here, though, where it's possible, it's a line where it's possible where they still don't cover, even though they win the game. 5.5 points is a lot in this series. I think they match up pretty well, but in the season, in the regular season and conference games as home favorites, the Celtics are 20-9 straight up and 11-17-1 against the spread. So, like I said, it's very possible that they win this game but not cover this line. With how tight the line is. To me, though, more signs are pointing to the under. I want to focus towards the total here. I talked about how the Celtics did as home favorites in conference games, but if you add that their opponent has a winning record, they're actually 10-5 to the under in those games. And on the Bucks side, 6-1 to the under as road dogs in conference games against teams with a winning record. And also another trend here towards the Bucks against teams with a winning record, and the total is 220 or less, 12-4 to the under with an average combined score of 210.5. And that's a 16-game sample size. Also includes some of the games here in the playoffs. So to me, the way it's looking is I'm leaning towards the under in this game specifically, just based off game flow, and how they match up both defensively and offensively. So that's my lean on this one.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too, Ronald. Still having trouble getting these slides up. I'm limited to a 50 megabyte size. I just learned, but because we're making too many high definition graphics, I suppose. But we'll keep trying. But I like the first half here with the Boston Celtics. I think it only makes sense that they want to defend the house, and they know the situation. I mean, it's a best of three series now, so two of those three games are at home. And if they win the two home games, which they've been outstanding at home so far, with the exception of game one, you haven't won. And if you win this first one, then all the pressure in the world is on Milwaukee, back in Milwaukee, to force a game seven. Then after all that exhaustion of saying they win it, you have to travel back to Boston to that raucous crowd who will be absolutely out of their minds in Game 7. So it doesn't look all that good right now for the Bucks unless they are able to pull off the upset tonight. But I don't think
Mhm.
I think this home favorite trend is well entrenched, and I don't see any reason it doesn't continue. Again, it's like we talked before, Ronald. Like at the roulette table, you watch red come up 8 times in a row, 9 times in a row. What does the betting public do around that table? They bet
Mhm.
black because
Mhm.
black is due. Well, no, it's not, and it's not due that the Milwaukee Bucks are due to win because the home favorites have gone 12-0. It doesn't mean that. So I want everybody to be careful
Mhm.
thinking that because that could be a big mistake. You're better off taking the Celtics, I think, and continuing the trend. And if they lose, but you're with the momentum.
Mhm.
Anyway, let's move on to this next game. And the next game is the Golden State Warriors and Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, this all depends on whether John Morant can play. It looks like I think it was Reggie Miller last night was the guy who broke the news that he's probably out for the rest of the playoffs,
Mhm.
which could mean tonight. I don't really know what that statement meant. Like he wouldn't be available for the conference final should they win the next two in a row.
I believe
Uh,
it's the rest of the playoffs. Is he's doubtful for the rest of the playoffs, regardless of whether or not they
wow.
advance. Yeah.
Now the coach made a statement saying that he didn't answer the question what did the MRI reveal, and
Mhm.
he said that the doctors are still continuing efforts basically to find a diagnosis and a prognosis. Which to
Mhm.
me, my takeaway from that reading between the lines again, which I shouldn't do, is that the MRI was negative. So then that made me think, well, gee, he might play. And for anybody that's listening to this, if you do like the Grizzlies tonight without John Morant in the lineup, then you probably want to bet him now because if somehow he miraculously shows up on the court and is playing, the line is not going to be +4, +4.5 any longer. It's going to be a lot closer to pick 'em, I think. Take it away, Ronald. Tell me what you think about that idea, and what percentage you think that Morant will actually be on the floor tonight. And then
Mhm.
go over your analytics too with the fact that they're 20-6 now
Mhm.
without Morant in the lineup. So does it really matter if he's playing?
Yeah, this is. I mean, obviously, this is tough. I mean, John Moran is such a big part of this team. We look at that trend of 20-5 prior to the last game, 20-5 straight up without Ja. But during that show, I did mention the postseason is a lot different than the regular season. The motivation, like I mentioned earlier, right? The motivation just hits a little bit different for the opposing team. They're not going to be looking ahead to the next matchup because you're really looking for the championship. You want to get to the next round, and you only got one team ahead of you. You're not going to be looking to a different team on the road or at home. You're really just one game at a time. When you hit to the playoffs, the coaching mentality, the motivation, everything is a little bit different because it's really tough to replace a player in the postseason versus regular season. The regular season really it's a 82 game season. You just want to make it to the playoffs. In the playoffs, you got to take every game as serious as possible. And you hear it in the post game interviews. The Warriors talked about, it doesn't matter if Ja's in or out. We're gonna game plan like he's playing, and things like that. So it's just a lot different here. As far as this game specifically, I think we saw that the Grizzlies are still able to compete for a majority of the game, and the Warriors really just took over in that fourth quarter. Um, to me, this might be another spot where the Grizzlies can stay with them early, and then take the Warriors late. Your live in game strategy could be in play here, or even just take the Grizzlies first half or the Warriors second half. There's just different ways to play this one out. Another thing to know is how the Grizzlies play without Ja at home versus on the road. Their offense actually picks up a notch at home, but their defense takes a hit. As road dogs without Ja, they're averaging 105 and allowing 105 per game. You saw that in the last game where it went under the closing total. At home, it's a totally different story. They're averaging 119.6, allowing 111.8. Also a 5 game sample size. But as far as the look on the side, I'm not sure if I could trust it at this point. But I do like the fact that they play better offensively at home without him. So the look for me would be towards the over in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too, and I'll go over that in-game betting strategy. I do have the slides here. Just deleted a few to get it below the 50 megabyte limitations, but we'll make sure that we have no limitations for this show because it doesn't deserve any limitations. But we're getting some activity in the chat room the last couple of days. Everybody's been pretty good here. Just wanted to give shout outs to Ninja 13 again is active. He's been active all week, this guy. And the Celtics -7 for a better value.
Oh, he's
Maybe that's
talking
the
about
alternative number.
yeah, it's an outline. You probably get plus money
Yeah.
on that.
Yep. And then let's see. Kevin Riley made a big bet. He actually gave Kevin Riley's been one of our longtime show listeners and watchers. So big shout out to him. Dave here. Yeah, well, it was a 30-point blowout, but until the Suns started playing basketball and outscored them 80-42 from that point on. Yours truly was pretty nervous. You know, I almost had 3 IPAs last night instead of my normal 2. I was that nervous. And it brings up a point, Raul. When we put out these big plays, these 5%ers, especially on a $2 Tuesday, we take it seriously. Everybody at Wager Talk Sports Memo, and I've talked to the guys at Wager Talk as you have, and they put out a big play like that, and it's personal because we want you to win. It's just not like, hey, we got your $2. The heck with it. I mean, we actually
that $2
really take
Tuesday,
it personally.
Yeah, the $2 Tuesday is super important because obviously there's more people buying it because it's a cheap price, but it's also a way to showcase our capping ability, right? We're gonna give out the best that we can for that day or that week on that Tuesday. We're giving you our best analysis, our best play, and it really is to show this is what we do for a living. There's Dave out here on the comments talking about what our long-term records are. We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't able to last for a long period of time, in my opinion. So it really is $2 Tuesday is super important for all of us at Sports Momo and Wager Talk, to be able to just give our best out. That's my take on it. I just feel like it shouldn't go overlooked for being able to win your 5% plays, and especially on $2 Tuesday. That's huge.
Yeah, I agree. Dave has a good question here. I actually do know the answer to it. It's 57% against the spread over the last 1,150 NBA and college basketball releases combined. That was something I just looked up this morning. So, at the pace that you and I are running at, which is in the 70% level, we want it to be sustainable, but realistically, we're going to, hopefully have a drop off. But the idea, we're so close to the end of the season, we want to just like sprint right through the finish line like that Kentucky Derby winner. That's how we want to end this NBA season, because then it ends and there is no expected drop off because we don't start for another 8 months and we start fresh. So I think that's a very good point that Dave brings up. I've been doing this for 27 years. It kind of tells you how old I am, and I wouldn't be doing these shows, and Sportsman wouldn't be endorsing our shows either, Ronald, if we weren't really good at what we do. So thanks for the question, Dave, and let's go on to the best bet segment of the show. And I'm going to lead off here, Ronald, because I have the angle of the day. And this angle actually will be on the NBA tip-off show at 4:15 Eastern Standard Time today on Wager Talk. So, check out that show as well. I believe Rob Vino and Tony Finn are the guests with, I think actually Ski might be the guy, but I'm not sure on that. But I think the other two I mentioned will be joining host Joe Ranieri for that awesome show. And this betting system has gone very well. 39-13 against the spread for 75% on the first half line NBA regular and playoff seasons over the last 20 of them. 8-1 against the number the last 5 seasons. You're going to bet on favorites. This case, Golden State 2 to 3.5 points, using the first half line. Matchup of teams winning 60 to 70% of their games. The host is coming off a road loss, but covered the spread, which Memphis did. And there you have it. That's all there is to it. And then this has a very strong P value, which tells you that those 3 parameters work very well together, that it's not just randomness or backfilling, that they really are meaningful in their own right and in combination with each other. And Tony Finn has always told me, don't call it the P test, because that sounds like a restroom situation. I should call it the JR value. So maybe that's what we should do, Ronald. Or we could call it the RC value as well. But the P value is, it has a reason why it's called the P value. But I get it. So that's my best bet. The first half total. There was a question here in the chat room too about the totals. Last night I gave out the 215, 209.5, 206.5 with the Suns game. And that was a game where we kind of, like the market is doing right now, where you try to catch that falling knife and it doesn't work so well. And catching the falling knife was the in-game part of that game, where it started out slow and it never really caught any legs. And it finished, under 200. Mm-hmm. So the bet, that total bet lost. So in this game, we repeat the process. It's rinse and repeat. And we have a total of basically the same number, and 209.5, 25%, in this case, 205.5, because we're expecting greater volatility with this game between Golden State and Memphis, but 50% pre-flop. And the betting line right now, I don't think is where I just said it. Let's just make sure that we have the right line here for the information. Let's see. We got Golden State Memphis right now is 219. Okay, so that's going to shift everything just a little bit. So we're looking at 219, 50% pre-flop, and then 212 is 25%. 209.5 is the other 25%. So that's the live in-game betting strategy. And again, paper trade this. That means you don't have any money. You just, you watch the live in-game lines, and this way you get used to doing it. It takes a while to get used to it, because when you put these bets in, as Ronald knows, it can feel pretty weird. It feels like sometimes you're doing the worst thing you could possibly doing, and that was the case last night. But when I've done it so much now that it's routine. But number one thing, if you learn anything from me on these shows, is when you do the in-game betting, you must have a plan before the game starts. You can't get into the game and then, oh my God, I made a bad bet on the Suns, and then try to hedge it by betting the other team. You're going to end up losing double the money that you started with more times than not, because of the volatility of the game that's inherent in the NBA. And that's all I'm going to say for now. So, Ronald, take it away for your best bet, and let's see who you are going with.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking at the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics under the full game total. I think just the pace of play and the defense that the defensive matchups kind of go towards the under here. I know the total has gone up from the previous game to this game as far as the open total, but since the open total, it has come down a point to 213.5. And I agree with the move. I think this is going to go under 213.5.
Yep, I like it. And just to clarify here, well, I didn't mean to bring that one up, but a little bit later, Kevin, it'll be released a little bit later, before 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what we're talking about here with Dave's question is over Golden State Memphis is what I'm talking about in-game betting. If you like the over, those are the numbers you're going to bet. 219, 50% of your normal bet size, pre-flop, 25% at 213.5, and then 209.5 is your other 25%. So that
I think is John, another thing too. I think another thing that Dave might be confused about is your best bet. I think best bets between the show versus best bets for your premium plays are different. Is that correct?
Yes.
I just want to confirm. Yep.
Yep, that
So
is
yeah.
true. That's a good point. Yep. So yeah, my premium 5% max bet yesterday, that was the $2 cost at sportsmo.com, was on the Phoenix Suns minus the points full game. So I did give out the Suns as a side, um, and I also gave out the over. The over part lost on the show, and the over part for the live in game strategy lost,
Mhm.
and that, it was a loss. So tonight we're going to rinse and repeat. We're doing the same thing again on the over in the Golden State Memphis game. And Ronald, your best bet is the under,
Mhm.
um, in
The
the
Bucks and
yeah,
the
the
Bucks
Bucks and the
Celtics.
Celtics, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So to clarify, I have that best bet angle, which I'm going to add right now, and you can see it. There it is. That's the first half line. Officially, that is my number one show best bet for this show. The in-game live strategy, if you've never done it, don't put pizza money on it. Do yourself a favor and just track it, paper trade it, see how it
Mhm.
feels, and learn how these flows work and how the lines flash all over the place. That's something you have to really get used to. And there's no use, trying to do it and making a mistake and ending up losing money. Okay,
Mhm.
so my show best bet is the first half Golden State Warriors minus the points. All right. I think I drove that point home pretty good, Ronald, didn't I? I probably
Yeah.
sound
No,
like a
you got it.
four,
You got it. You got
probably
it.
like
I
a
think.
fourth grade school teacher.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough because when you do these shows and we say best bet for the show, it doesn't necessarily mean best bet for the premium side. So I think that's just one thing that kind of for people who don't watch too often, that I think that gets a little bit confusing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think when we do release like sometimes we'll just go ahead and release it on the fly, and we'll say, you know
Mhm.
what, this is a premium best bet that my all access clients are getting, and it's this, and the other thing, and
Mhm.
here's why it's a premium bet. So, going forward, I think that's what we'll do. If we're going to give one out that is going to the all access clients, we'll make it very clear that that's the case.
Yeah.
But these are also bets that we're taking to the window. These aren't just like a gut feeling type of thing. These are bets that we
Mhm.
really believe in. And over the 70, no, it's actually 84 shows, Ronald. We're at 63% against the spread for our
Yeah.
official show best bets.
Mhm.
So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
season just by itself, and it's all free anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for your time, Ronald. Any final thoughts before I let you go?
No, I mean, I think we've had a really great season. The NBA triple double show. You said 63% since we started this doing the show and tracking our records. I think moving forward, we just want to close out the playoffs as strong as possible, and then come back at it next season.
That sounds great to me. And we'll come back tomorrow, actually, with another edition of the NBA triple double
Oh
for
yeah,
Thursday, May the
we still got a
12th.
lot. We still got a lot to go.
Yeah, we do. There's still a lot of gas in the tank. And we look forward. Make sure you check out the MLB show later today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ronald Cabang right here is going to be joining me, and Jesse Schul will be the other guest, and you want to be sure to watch that one. So until tomorrow, remember two things: bet with your head, not over it, and may all the wins be yours.